So roughly like 6 or 7 months ago, I made a video about the top 5 most realistic Roblox games out there. Now, since that video has come out, there have been a lot of releases of very realistic games, and I'm actually going to improve the list today, and we're going to talk about the top 5 most realistic games in Roblox updated. Now, obviously, let me set some ground rules so nobody gets confused on what we're doing here. First rule is they have to actually be a game. We are not doing any art showcases just like in the last video. While they might look realistic, they're also just a showcase that they don't really have any physics to them. It's just more of something that looks good in the eyes. In order for something to be realistic, it needs to look realistic and it needs to feel realistic. And I have quite the few Roblox games that will meet this standard. So get your pen and paper or your notepad and get ready to write these games down because you're going to want to play them. And before I show you guys the top 5 games, I would just like to say you guys should definitely subscribe to my channel because I think like over 80% of you guys are not subscribed. And these lists do take quite a bit of effort to make, and there's a lot of editing that goes into it. So please, subscribe. Starting things off with number 5, we have Rolling Thunder. Rolling Thunder was a game that released this year in January, and it's an absolutely phenomenal game, featuring some of the most realistic graphics you will see on Roblox. And this is only number 5 on the list. Now, the reason why I put it at number 5 instead of putting it any higher is because 1, we have far more realistic games down the line, and 2, a lot of the game mechanics in Rolling Thunder feel kind of clunky. Yes, this game has amazing kill streaks, it has amazing maps, but I feel like the gunplay within itself is kind of bad. Like, try using a shotgun, for example, and you'd understand what I'm saying. I feel like a lot of time when I'm playing this game, I either feel like their guns are terrible, or the guns are really overpowered. I mean, if you use a sniper, God, those things are crazy. But if you use something like an assault rifle, the recoil is a lot, and it's really hard to aim. However, it makes up for its amazing kill streaks, and it also makes up for the amazing maps that it has. This game features some of the best maps I've ever seen in gaming, and honestly, it's just a fun time. This game is one of the best Roblox adaptations of a 50v50 Battlefield-style game mode, and it's just really fun. So if you haven't played it, I highly recommend you check it out. But let's go ahead and get to number 4. This might be my most controversial take on this video, but I'm gonna put Frontlines at number 4. Now, before you piss your pants, let me go ahead and explain why. While yes, Frontlines is the most realistic looking FPS on Roblox, there's no doubt about that. I mean, just look at these graphics, man. Oh my god. Graphics is only half of the way to the realism. This game is inherently not realistic. This is an arcade shooter, meaning that realism is kind of thrown to the side for the quality of life in the game. Now, I'm not saying that this game isn't realistic. I'm just saying it's not realistic to a point where I can put it above all the others in the list, because you'll see why. But the realistic graphics complemented with the amazing gunplay just makes this game so great, and that's why I put it at number 4. This game features some of the best gunplay I have seen in all of FPS. The guns feel very smooth, they feel very fun. However, with the whole realism thing, a lot of the game is you're kind of just bunny hopping around and just murdering everybody you see. Not really that realistic. You're not really thinking about what you're doing, you're kind of just doing it, and it goes so perfectly with the game. This game also offers amazing gun customization, which is a very realistic thing. They have very different variants of guns within the game, which a lot of people do not know about. For example, you can convert your MP5 into an MP5K, or you can make your MP5 into an MP5 SD. And that's only one of the guns. The options are limitless with these guns. And only one other game on this list successfully does that, so that's why it gets brownie points. This game also features very close range and very compact maps that complemented its gameplay so perfectly. This is the only game out there that I can officially say that understands how maps should work and how maps function. For what this game is trying to achieve, it uses small maps to its advantages, and you can play in any way possible on these small maps. And even though there's only 14 people in the game, it feels like there's a 50v50. I'm just saying. You're almost never looking for anybody, and the action is coming to you always. Now let's talk about number 3. Here in our number 3 slot, we have Riotfall, which is another game that officially released this year. Featuring a very small 68 players, this game is amazing. The best way I can describe it is like, it has the graphics of current day Call of Duty, but it has the feeling of like old games like Call of Duty Black Ops 2 or Call of Duty Ghost. Now, you might be wondering why I put this game over Frontlines, and it has to really do with how the game flows. In Frontlines, you are running and gunning, you are bee-hopping across the map, you're going crazy fast. But this game takes a little bit of different of approach. It doesn't use movement as much as Frontlines does. Instead, it's a lot more slow and monotonous. Running and gunning in this game, it's a 50-50 split because there are a lot of things like stuns that can absolutely counter you, but you could also use it to your advantage. Just like Rolling Thunder, I feel like the guns feel a little bit clunky here. But I guess that clunkiness makes it feel more realistic because you actually are punished for trying to run in somebody's spawn and murder somebody's entire team. Now, this game literally functions almost exactly like Call of Duty. There's a lot of things you can do. There's challenges, there's skins, there's levels, prestiges, all sorts of stuff. If you're looking for a game that grind 24/7, 365 and be a no-life at, this is your game. I can guarantee you that if you try actually getting diamond on all the guns in the game, it'd probably take you at least 50 hours. The graphics in this game are arguably just as good as Frontlines, and which is the reason why I kind of put it above Frontlines, because the graphics are just as good and the game feels just a tad bit more realistic. And my editor has played this game for God knows how long, so he can explain this way better than I can. Coming in at number 2, we have BRM5. Now, this one is probably the main reason why I'm making this video again. Because in my last video, I snubbed this so hard. I remember when I posted this video and then I read the comments and somebody said BRM5 and I just sat back in my chair in utter defeat. What was I gonna do? I made a grave mistake. I didn't include BRM5 on the list. It should have been easily number 1. And if you watched the previous video,
well, this one is for you.
So where do I get started with this game? BRM5 is probably the biggest FPS on Roblox, period. It's like an MMORPG inside Roblox. And it's an FPS. The things that you can do in this game are endless. You name it, you can do it. Do you want to go raid terrorist hideouts? Well, there you go, there's for you. Do you want to go side quest in a random city? Well, you can do that too. Do you want to literally bomb people with an A10 Warhog? You can do that. Do you want to kill innocent civilians and ruin your reputation? You also can do that. Hey, let's just be the US. Geneva Convention? More like Geneva Suggestion. And I'm not exaggerating whatsoever. And on top of that MMORPG style, they also have a 25v25 Battlefield style game mode. And if that's too much for you, they also have a 5v5 and a 2v2 style game mode. I'm telling you, this game has everything. And so let's talk about the realism for a second. This game is so amazingly realistic. This game punishes you for going in and actually running and gunning. You really have to plan out what you're doing in this game. You have to manually self-heal and you have to be very, very, very careful. One wrong move and you could be set back a pretty big amount. There's plenty of different locations that you can actually do raids on and all of them are very, very, very fun. And so you're probably wondering, how can you top BRM5? Well, coming in at number 1, we have Deadlines. Deadlines is by far the most realistic game on Roblox, period. I would say Deadlines is like the Arma equivalent level of military simulator here. While Deadlines does not have necessarily the most realistic graphics in the world, everything else about it is just so unbelievably realistic. One of my favorite things about this game is the sound design. I have genuinely never had a Roblox game blow me away so much with its sound design. Its guns, its sound effects, its grenades, it does a perfect job at just putting you in the environment that it wants you to be in. And the sound design is where it just starts. The gun customizations is better than any game I have played in general. And I mean every game I've ever played, period. I'm not talking just at Roblox at this point. I think this game actually has like over 1,000 unique attachments for each gun and they all do their own separate thing. And you basically can build your own gun from the ground up. It's so hard to explain. You just have to try it out yourself. And as it sounds, this game is not for the faint of heart. This game is hard. It's grueling. It's unforgivable. It is painful, but once you get through all the pain and you get yourself a good setup and a good gun and a good spot on the map, you are going to have so much fun on this game. This game is one of the most rewarding FPSs out there. So what are you waiting for? Play this game. This is the game of the day. Anyways, guys, that was my list. If you enjoyed my list, leave a like down below. And if you disagree with it, let me know down in the comments what you think should have been where. There are so many realistic games out there. It's really hard to put 5 of them all together, but this is the best I could do.